At the heart of the Christian faith is the truth that Christ has died, Christ has risen, and that Christ will come again. Thus, all Christians stand united in the belief that Jesus will return and set right this broken world. Over the years, however, Christians have developed some different understandings about details surrounding Jesus' return. You might wonder why there are these different views among Christians. I think the biggest reason is that they are all ways of understanding the future, things that have not yet happened. There is much about Jesus' first coming that was not understood until after it had happened. The same thing could very well be true about his promised return. Until it happens, we only see through a glass dimly, but on that day we will finally see everything clearly. But the other major reason for these different views is that we don't just find one passage in the Bible talking about Jesus' return. We have many of them. Jesus speaks about it in Matthew 24 and 25, Mark 13, and Luke 21. The Apostle Paul discusses it in places like 1 Thessalonians 4 and 5, and we also find it in the book of Revelation. These passages all give different details, at times using symbols and images. Thus, each of these passages must be interpreted, but also integrated with the others. You can think of them as puzzle pieces that we need to figure out how they connect in order to see the overall picture. And so the attempts to understand and synthesize these passages by faithful people committed to the authority of the Bible essentially has yielded three common views about the chronology and the sequence of Jesus' return. The first view I want you to know about is known as premillennialism, or the premillennial return of Jesus. Many Christians believe that Jesus will return to earth after a time of intense tribulation, and then he will reign on earth for 1,000 years. After that 1,000-year millennial time of peace, Satan will have a final rebellion, and then Jesus will defeat him once for all. There'll be final judgment and the new heavens and the new earth. This view is called premillennialism because Jesus returns before that 1,000 years. Some, but not all, that hold to this view would say that Jesus might return for his church even before that, during that tribulation period, or after, in the middle of it. That's a point of differences among those that hold this view. Another point of difference is whether there are certain things that have to be fulfilled before all that could begin. Some think that everything is ready, where others say that certain things must happen. A second understanding sees the return of Jesus happening after that millennia, 1,000-year period of peace. Since the millennium comes first and then Jesus returns, it's called postmillennialism, because Jesus' return is post the millennium. In effect, this view sees that 1,000-year reign as being established through the influence of the church on earth. At that point, Jesus will then return and will raise the dead, bring final judgment, and create the new heavens, the new earth. This is probably the least common of these views today. The third view has a title that can be a little confusing, as it's called the amillennial position, or amillennialism. The prefix on that word is essentially negation, so it literally could be viewed as the no millennium view. But this is not saying that there's no kingdom at all, but rather viewing the kingdom as already and not yet. That Jesus came and established his kingdom in part as he came to bring the kingdom of God. He is pushing back Satan's work. He reigns now, but he doesn't reign in full. So there's a not yet element, and there'll be a final revolt at the end. Then Jesus will return, defeat Satan, raise the dead, bring judgment, and bring the new heavens, the new earth. And in that view, we are living in the last times now. Jesus could return at any moment. Now, that's a very quick sketch of these three views. There's so many more details that we don't have time to unpack. Passages, pros and cons. We don't have time to lay those out, but I do want to address one important question that you might be wondering right now. Which of these three views do we have and do we hold as a church? Our church's confession of faith, known as the Belgic Confession, states this about Jesus' return. At the time appointed by the Lord, which is unknown to all creatures, Jesus will come from heaven, bodily and visibly as he ascended. He'll be the judge of the living and the dead. All humans will appear before him. Those who died will be raised up, and those who are still alive will be changed in the twinkling of an eye. The dead will be judged, with the evil ones being sent to eternal torment in the fire prepared for the devil and his angels, and the faithful crowned with glory and honor. All tears will be wiped before their eyes. The focus of these words is not on the details and the sequence, but on the overarching truth about which all three views agree. Jesus will return and will put an end to all the evil in this world. Therefore, you will find people at this church holding any of these views. See, our unity is not based on a particular understanding of how Jesus will return, but on the fact that he will. Our hope is in him. Our faith is in how we respond to him, not our view of the details about his return. So may we be people who remember and point others to the work that Jesus did when he first came to earth, as we prepare ourselves for his return, whenever and however that will unfold.